Okay, so
and Joey, I don't call people a cuck if they're known fucking they don't have Bitcoin or this or that. It's not. It's the mentality. We could talk about cuck mentality today. In fact, it's not owning Bitcoin. It's not understanding what Bitcoin. It's not being a no coiner, pre coiner, whatever the fuck it is. It's something more than that. And this all stemmed from I called somebody out in a public forum, and I was able to provide proof that he was asking for shit from me, and I provided it, and then he fucking immediately cuts me off, blocks me, and deletes my posts because he had authority in that chat room.
Funny
that's
fella,
cuck material,
yeah,
right? Like when you've been given proof, and so that's where all that comes from. Like, you don't be a cuck. Don't fucking act like a cuck. If somebody calls you out, fucking stand your ground and fucking fight. If you lose, you lose. That's fine. Don't fucking just wave a magic sword and kick somebody off a fucking room. That's bullshit. That's cuck material.
Agreed. Yeah. So, CARNEY, election, Pierre, did you watch the speeches? Did you watch, what do you think? Where are you going to start?
Yeah, well, let's talk right over Canada. As of yesterday noon, I wanted to watch him go to the Governor General because I didn't. I was at some event with my family. We're in an election. We have the shortest period of time for an election. They opted for the 37-day, whatever the fuck it is.
It's tight. It's even tighter than that. It's on the 28th of April. So
It's the shortest you could have it.
Yeah.
It's by design. And funny enough, 2015 was the longest one. And that was to the detriment of Harper. The longer the election for him, that one didn't help him out. They're going for short. They're trying to strike this while the iron is hot. Chandra's riding. He's taking over Chandra's riding.
That's unbelievable, that story.
There's a lot to that story that I don't know. A lot of speculation.
It's not speculation. Like, we were talking about this with Mark on the weekend. We talked about it, I think, like 4 weeks ago, whenever Chandra got booted from the leadership race, that we found this post that everyone is now caught onto about his son working for Brookfield overseas with a cushy, I don't think quite C-suite, but close position. Certainly something you can hang your hat on and live a good life on the back of. And it's interesting that Chandra gave up his seat, right? So I said,
he didn't give up his seat.
Yeah, I said gave up. He didn't really give it up, did he? That's not really what happened.
Yeah, there's a lot here. I don't know how much of an influence did the CEO of Brookfield have with the hiring and keeping on of Chandra's son. I don't know. Probably nil. Probably a lot. There's a lot I just don't know. Yeah. Speculation is through the roof.
It's just not good. It's not good, right? Like, this goes back to. So let's talk a bit about CARNEY one more time and the connections and just the sort of like willful ignorance, or like the ignorance that the Liberal Party hopes that you have maybe about this whole thing. Chandra Arya is the first bit. Again, we're speculating a little bit because we don't know the exact details. And as Mark points out in the chat, we're talking like 2016 as a start date for this young fella who's the CFO of Brookfield India, according to Mark. We don't know for sure, but we're guessing here. You could have picked anybody to run the party, and instead you picked the guy who has this connection to the candidate who you need to remove because he garnered such a huge groundswell of support basically all of a sudden on a Sunday afternoon and was booted over it, right? So like, you could have picked anyone else. You picked CARNEY, you had to deal with that. I was doing a little digging the other day, and I'll share the research with you guys because I care about you. We all love each other here at the CBP, and I want to make sure everyone's well informed. Mark Carney appointed a guy named Mark Wiseman to his cabinet, not cabinet, but like his advisors, basically, you know, this sort of Jerry Butts adjacent role. I'm guiding policy. I'm guiding campaign strategy. I'm guiding the party. Mark Wiseman is a guy who is the co-founder of the Century Initiative, Len. We've talked about the Century Initiative on the show a few times. The Century Initiative is this lobby group, I would call it, consulting group, lobby group, something like that, that's worked with the Liberal government over the years and worked with, you know, corporations, NGOs, I'm sure. They want to push the population of Canada to 100 million people by the year 2100. So we're at about 40 now, if you believe the numbers. They want to more than double it over the next 60 years. By the way, no mention of integration, no mention of housing, healthcare, any of these things. It's all about birth rates, pensions, things like that. Now, this would be interesting on its own, okay? And it's, again, Mark Carney with these insider connections could have picked anybody, but you picked a guy who's going to have connections with the Century Initiative, and that's fine. You can do that, but people are going to start to ask questions. And certainly I'm sure the conservatives are doing this behind closed doors, and we'll start to be, doing it publicly in the next few weeks, if not sooner. Why is this important? Why did he pick this guy, and what other connections does this guy have? Mark Wiseman co-founded the Century Initiative with who? Len, do you know? Dominic Barton, who's also in the advisory council, right?
And no relation to Rosemary.
And you know where else Dominic Barton worked, Len?
Eurasia
Group with Carney's wife, all together, right? Say it with me, friends. Could have picked anyone else, but instead you picked this guy. Now, the interesting thing that no one's talking about with Wiseman, and we've talked about CPPIB here a few times about the questions we have about how well-funded this is and what it needs to be well-funded. You know what Wiseman was doing before he founded the Century Initiative? He was the leader of the CPPIB. So you got a guy in Carney who worked for two central banks, one of them Canadian, one of them UK, similar-ish systems, I guess, in terms of financial markets, one obviously much larger, but the ideals are the same. You got a guy in Wiseman who was the leader of the CPPIB for 5 years, underperformed, by the way, in all of those years, I'm pretty sure. I have to go back to the year-by-year data, but underperformed. Certainly underperformed the benchmark portfolio, which we'll talk about in a second. These guys both deciding that they have to run for public office, and their mission is basically, we have to bring in 100 million people to the country. Why? Why did the guy who's running the pension decide all of a sudden that 100 million people is a solution to whatever problem he's seeing on the financial side? I don't think it's just about wage suppression. I actually think that the pension is not well funded, and they know that. But I want to also add that, in terms of shrinking the public service, shrinking bloat and things like that, Carney talking about this, obviously, he's full of shit. This little bite-sized fella spewing sound bites, trying to compel reporters to stop asking him difficult questions. They're only going to get harder, and they should. The reason I know that he's full of shit on shrinking bloat is because Wiseman was the person at the CPPIB who expanded their quote-unquote expert and management operation to the tune of, I think the most recent numbers is they spend something like $4 billion every year on what I would call expertise and global presence. So the CPPIB, for a guy who's going to shrink bloat, brings on Wiseman. Wiseman oversaw the CPPIB while they continued their expansion all over the world to places like, they didn't expand to Kingston and Wisconsin, Len. They established headquarters and buildings in places like New York, London, Tokyo, Sao Paulo, all the most expensive.
And $300 million spent on a lavish office, apparently. Yeah. In Toronto.
So what they're saying is that office is actually smaller. So they're shrinking the office, but really it's going to be much more lavish, as you mentioned. I'm glad you pulled that up. So this guy was.
This is Toronto Star's words, not mine. Lavish.
Yeah. No, it's 100% true. And on top of that, this guy was one of the catalysts or one of the catalyzers of a change in the way the CPPIB measures performance. Talk about moving the goalposts. This is important because this guy is going to be advising the potential prime minister, the prime minister right now, unelected, appointed, king made, whatever. This guy decided when he was in the CPPIB at the helm of the CPPIB, what he was going to do is try to change the way the CPP measured performance. The CPP basically does two things, right? They invest, they're an active manager. They became an active manager in 2006. And instead of comparing themselves to the index, because that would be too hard, they compare themselves to a model passive portfolio that they put together. So they're setting the bar for themselves, the expectations, and then trying to beat it every year. Here's the thing. They don't. In the 18 years they've been actively managing, the best outcome you could interpret from their numbers is a tie. So they're paying all the overhead, all the expertise, they're bringing in the money managers. In my opinion, speculation here on my part, but when you bring in active managers, what you're going to get are active managers buying stake in companies that they can get rich on the back end or in their own portfolios or whatever. It's your money that's going to this stuff. And this is what they're doing. Instead of shrinking the expert class that they brought in, saving the taxpayer money, saving you money, it's your money. CPPIB is your money. Instead of saving you money, you know what they're doing, Len, in the face of this underperformance? They're changing the benchmark. They are changing the benchmark. So this year, for the first time, we'll have a new benchmark for the CBP since the 2006 move to manage money. I say all this not to upset you, but to only to point out that the people who are telling you they know how to manage money are the people who have proven to be some of the least competent big time money managers of the last 100 years. CARNEY ruined not one, but two countries' financial situations. Wiseman was the head of the CBP while they underperformed a benchmark that they established for themselves, all while spending extra money on staff and bloat and expertise. Not to mention, Len, they also spend close to $1 billion on external experts every 5 or 6 years. So it's something like $150 million a year. You can see all this in the actuarial report. It's on the CPPIB's website. It's a little dense, but you can do it. Just Control F for the terms you want and go from there. You'll find it. The people who are telling you they're going to control spending and get things back to where they should be have never done it. And arguably, especially at the CPPIB level, it's so easy. You just have to buy the index. We did it for 50 years and it was fine.
Just had to buy Bitcoin. That was it. That was the simplest fucking move. One person could fucking make that move.
Let's meet them where let's meet them where they are, right? Let's meet them where they are. They have a responsibility to the people of Canada, and that responsibility right now does not include Bitcoin, nor should it, in my opinion. But the idea that these guys are going to get spending under control is completely backwards. It's actually like a crazy thing to say that they're going to get it under control when they've never even come close anywhere they've been. And so when people ask, when they say to you, at Easter or whatever, right? I guess Easter will be right after the election. Wow, I can't believe CARNEY didn't win. You should have the ammunition that we have given you on this show, whether it was the rant a few weeks ago about what it means to buy Canadian, whether it's the stuff about CARNEY and the Eurasia Group and his wife and the contracts, whether it's the stuff about Wiseman and Butts and the Century Initiative and the CPPIB. It's all there for you. You're never going to see it on CTV. Evan fucking Solomon, in between brokering under the table art deals, okay, is never going to say this to you. And I'll leave it on this. If you want to know what kind of ethics the party and the man follow and think that need to be followed, okay, you can agree or disagree with the Solomon art thing, but the CBC fired Evan Solomon over the art thing. He brokered a deal to someone else over a guest that he had on Power and Politics in 2016. Who was the guy he sold the art to, Len?
It was MC, right?
It was Mark fucking CARNEY. And so, again, they could have picked anyone. And this is the guy they went with. They don't care about the things they're telling you they care about. It is right there in front of you to see. It's plain as day. Everywhere you look. You should be sharing this with people. It's important. The country is in a place that it can't afford another 8 years, 10 years, whatever the fuck we're doing now. And we got to do what you can to stop it. And I continue to say, if you have
vote harder, Joey. Vote fucking harder.
Well, I don't know. I gave this rant in the group chat we're in the other day, but the idea that Bitcoiners think that you can just ignore this.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, I totally disagree. I think it's wrong. Yeah, I think it's wrong. I don't. I think Bitcoiners don't understand. Like CARNEY tweeting out stuff about Bitcoin in 2019 and 2020 when Musk said he wasn't going to buy it anymore. He's like, yeah, I totally agree with this. Bitcoin needs to be stopped. It's an environmental disaster, blah, blah, blah. Like the Bitcoiners who think, I'll just repeat the rant. For the Bitcoiners who think that you're going to somehow be above the law.
Not above, just existing. See, Joey, you're going down a path here. I gave you a node last week, and it seems like within the past few days, you've advanced your Bitcoin journey quite a bit since putting your hands on the node. I know it's not yet synced, but just having it, you're like, wow, you advanced a lot.
Yeah.
Do you have any faith in the banking system?
Any faith? I mean, long term, no, obviously not. Yeah. Yep.
So we've been doing this show almost 4 years.
This might be the fourth year, actually. It's 208, I think, right? Yeah, this might be the anniversary. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, Joey. Why would, after 4 years of this, seeing what's transpired, everything in the past, whatever amount of years, what happened in Ottawa just 2 years and change ago.
Mm-hmm.
Why would anybody even consider putting a penny into the economic system that has been set up? That's traditional finance. No fucking way. You buy Bitcoin and you keep that Bitcoin. You just transact in Bitcoin. You do as much as you can in Bitcoin and you try to get out of that. That system, you're going to get fucking rugged. Bitcoin, you have the ability to control your financial future. Sure, they could close the off ramps. They could ostracize you. Doesn't matter. You have opportunities. We've been doing this show for 4 years. Hopefully, you've had put 4 years worth of time and effort into finding a way to GTFO, right? And then once you have the ability to GTFO, you're okay.
See, I don't think it's that simple, and I know that we disagree on this point.
Simple.
We disagree on this point, right? Like I said in the chat, there's a group chat me and Len are in that's like not well adjusted at all. Certainly not for mixed company. And the thing that I said in the chat was there's a whole bunch of people in Bitcoin who think that they can just like leave at any time when things get sour enough that you can no longer handle it. And
you see the beautiful.
There are laws, Len, there are laws on the books that stop that. Like no one is going to say no. You don't think you're on a list somewhere for this show?
I don't care if I'm on a list.
Like, how are you going to leave? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Harriet Tubman the fuck out of here underground? Like you're going to have to get on a plane or show a passport or cross a border.
You have more than one passport. You travel to the United States. You're visiting there. From there, you fly to fuck out.
I don't think it's that easy.
It is deadly simple. And that's it. And if you want to go, you could charter a flight to the US and then from there take an international flight with your other passport and go. And there's lots to do. Joey, there's lots to unpack here. That 100 million thing. Did you know when is the last time
you're talking about the Century Initiative, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're talking in the next 75 years, it's going to more than double 2.5.
Yeah.
Almost.
We're bringing over 60 million more Indians. Yeah, that's the plan.
How long did it take from we're at 40? We'll call it 40 million right now. I'm just rounding it. How long did it take to go from 20 to 40 million? How long do you think it took?
20 years.
57 years.
Wow, holy
to double it. So now we're talking 75 years to a little bit more than double it. So the projection is it's not like parabolic. It's just pretty much steady. So I'm looking at that. I'm not trying to defend
graph. It. You're right. The population graph is not necessarily the bigger problem, right? If you look at the last 50 years, the same line that the population has also has like a social, let's say it has a social tensions line running beside it at about the same clip. Once you get from 40 or from 20 to 40, you start to see that second line, the social tensions line, move vertically a little bit. From 40 to 100, that social tensions line is going to go vertical. And that's the problem, right? And the people,
exactly.
guys like Wiseman, guys like, they don't give a fuck. McKinsey, all these people, they don't care.
Going back, we talked about this every fucking week for 4 years. And even before that, who knows how much you've been looking and diving deep. So like there's been ample opportunity to do a lot. 3 years ago, consoles came out. People made bank by selling those consoles, and it was all under the table.
That was 5 years ago. That's 5 years ago.
5 years ago. There's another console coming out in the very near future. The same thing could rinse and repeat. There's the opportunities here to make a decent amount of Bitcoin, period. And you can't, this stuff is yours. You own it. Who cares? Somebody could make plausible that you own it. How could anybody know how much you have? It's impossible to know. Right? Like it's just virtually impossible. I don't even know how much I fucking have.
It's not about, but like the law, the CRA law says that they can tell you whether or not they think you have something, and you got to pay on that.
Beautiful. You travel to, think about somebody hypothetically in the hypothetical world, somebody visited the United States for a little bit. Oh, from there they hopped on a flight, went somewhere else.
Yeah.
Good fucking luck.
This is the case. So this is the other thing I said, and the reason I think voting is important is not because
harder.
I think
you do it harder. That's
you have to vote hard. It's not because I think that voting is going to change the outcome.
It will not.
But I don't think that it will. Okay, but even the most like staunch multi-passport United States visit enjoyer to international flight hopper has to admit that there could come a time, much like with the frozen bank accounts thing. Okay. There could come a time when there's a capital flight issue. It happens very quickly, and suddenly the Bitcoiners aren't allowed to leave the state to go to the States anymore. And then what do you do?
Then you use a charter a flight. Go and
Like
then
like
see you later.
you're getting into territory that you've never done. You don't know if it's going to work. You don't know if that's the only thing that's available, if you're going to be able to afford it because the demand's going to go up so high. You need to know people that you probably don't know right now. It's difficult. And so my suggestion to people is not to ignore elections. It is to vote to extend your runway, your personal runway, as much and as long as possible.
Well, let's talk about the examples we have.
The decel, as the kids
not even
call
a decel. You're talking Canada to this point. Like, let's go back 2015. Like, Canada was in a recession in 2015.
Allegedly, yeah, I've heard about it anyway.
Oil prices were tanking, and that's a huge result of it. But 2015, Canada was in a recession. Like, why did Stephen Harper get kicked out, and why did Justin Trudeau win a resounding victory, made huge gains in every part of Canada? Why? You got to look at, well, people were tired of Harper at the time.
Yeah.
People were tired. The economy was, there was in a recession at the time. You had a very lengthy election. There's a lot going on there. Also, remember, there was one thing called Bill 51. Remember the anti-terrorist bill? That was one people.
Yeah, I do actually.
What's to stop? Oh man, Bitcoin. Is there a possibility in the future, in the way you see things playing out, could Bitcoin be considered a terroristic discussion?
Yes,
bringing up, talking, and promoting it because it's.
We've already talked about either the UK or EU talked about how if you're Bill
51.
I don't know.
It's the Blues. And who is part of the fucking Blues? The guy that's right now is part of the Blues.
Yeah, I was there in 2015.
This guy, he has been there since his 20s.
I'm not disagreeing with this, by the way. I just think that I think the runway is longer under one party than the other.
Same. No. It's I'm gonna argue it's the same thing.
Okay, so this is a different argument than we've had before.
It's the exact. I'm gonna give you an example. 2022 March, I went to London, Ontario to go to Tahini's. Pierre Poilievre was there. He bought a shawarma with Bitcoin using Lightning. Bitcoin at the time was around $45,000. Shortly thereafter, we had Luna. We had a few things that happened, and
15K, right? Yeah,
15K, right? And during that huge drawdown, a lot of people were ragging on Pierre Poilievre, talking about Bitcoin. How could this be a protection against inflation? How could you even talk about this? The risk in this. People are going to lose their life savings. He never talked about Bitcoin again. And there's a reason for that. And I'll even go further back. Just a month prior to going to Tahini's, he was on Breedlove show. I invited him to come. I personally invited him to come. And I asked him and Shifus did not want to come. That's fine. That's his choice. Bitcoin was not discussed again. And it has not been discussed again. It's not on this platform. It wasn't Trump's platform, kind of. Like, he went to at least a Bitcoin conference. This guy hasn't even talked about Bitcoin at all. If you believe in something, Joey, you will stand by that.
For sure. Yeah.
What this shows me is that he's willing to forego something.
We agree on this.
Something else.
Yeah, we agree on this. Yeah.
And if you're willing to do that, what are you going to do to maintain once you have that? You're going to give up something else and something else. So to me,
people are loving this. By the way, the viewer number just keeps going up.
It will be the same shit. So as I said, Canada only had two parties that ever governed. Now, the Liberal Party of Canada, as we have today, is not the same Liberal Party even 20 years ago. And even the Conservative Party is not the same Progressive Conservative Party 40 years ago. But still, there's a lineage here. We have to at least acknowledge that only two parties have ever governed and will continue to govern. And they got us to this point. It's not like this prosperity. We're looking.
It's the blob. It's the blob. Yeah.
So there's no like decel. It's the same fucking shit.
Interesting.
You will get to the same end. I don't think it's going to change the timeline. CARNEY, you even said, I want to bring up something. He didn't torpedo two economies. I can't believe I'm going to say this. Because 2008, right, he was the governor of the Bank of Canada. This was a global thing.
He mishandled. He didn't torpedo, but he did mishandle. It's
mortgage-backed securities that were done by U.S. banks, large U.S. banks, and international banks. Canada's a minnow in this. So what could he have done?
Keith Dicker tells this story.
The same thing with Brexit. that was a political thing. What could he have done to have alleviated? Like
he can't help but put his, emotional thoughts on things into the public discourse, right? Like he's the Bank of England governor. He has the comment on Brexit, how he thinks it's, whatever he said, I forget now, but
what can, in this type of situation, and this was the
point is that he mishandled it in both cases. I'm not saying because he doesn't have to talk about it as the Bank of England governor, number one, and number two, he doesn't have to let the Canadian housing market continue to just rip higher during those key years of the 08 crisis. He doesn't have to do that, right?
Is the governor of the central bank, is it a political position?
It is a political position.
Then they're subservient to the politics of the day. Then it's the politicians.
See, I don't necessarily think that's what a political position at the bank is subservient to. I don't believe that to be the case.
Who appoints that person?
That guy is operating like CARNEY is not the kind of guy who is influenced by what the popular opinion is, or even what the right thing is. He's an extremist. And you see this in his climate policy. You see this in his, his
that's
speeches.
A totally different argument.
I know, but I'm saying like the totally idea that he is political in terms of position, but not political in terms of incentives. And that's a dangerous place to be. Like because political incentivizing is like a feasible thing for people, right? Like if you're Poilievre, you're doing what's politically wise or what you think is politically wise.
No,
if
he's
you're
a
CARNEY,
populist.
Yeah, if you're CARNEY, I'm not convinced you're doing that. You're doing what you think is right because you know better.
I agree.
Did it as Bank of Canada governor, did it as Bank of England governor, and he's going to do it as a prime minister. That's what I would say.
He probably did it, but I don't think like his actions really changed anything. Governor of the Bank of Canada, really, what the fuck did they do? Like, I mean, the grand scheme of things. Again, going back that Great Recession, Canada, there's almost nothing they could have done to have shielded themselves.
Yeah,
and in fact, they did a decent job because of laws and how banks were set up here. We didn't have any banks that went tits up here.
No, we didn't. We were largely.
So that's
okay. So this argument aside, good argument. Where do you?
No, there's more. There's more to this.
Go. Okay, keep going. Okay,
like,
sure.
Poilievre, Bill S-210. This is the one that just came out.
Yep.
This is the you had to register your age to watch these
adult content. Yeah.
Thank you. The slippery slope.
We talked about this a lot on Axis of Easy. Yeah, I think it's a bullshit law. Yeah.
Incredibly, the Liberals were against this, right? Like this is part of like fuck. We're looking at what's going to happen in the next few years. Joey, like I don't care. This is Excel or Excel. Vote harder. You're going to get Excel.
So,
and I'm not even considering Blanchet. I'm not even considering fucking Jagmeet Singh.
The big question then is like what if we both think that this is going the same way? The only difference sounds like is a time horizon. Like you're not worried at all that this is going to happen too quickly for you to act?
I have acted. I have done lots to this point, and I urge you, Joey, and you, everyone watching and listening in, take fucking time to look into this. You see what's going on around you. Is it getting better? Find somewhere else. Like there are places, and there's no perfect place out there. I think I found the perfect place for me, and it's riddled with problems. I could admit that. But the problems that exist over there, I could stomach because there's a lot more good that comes with the bad. Here, like the fucking like the weather and like the shit just fucking drives me down. You know what I mean? Like so
everybody.
Well, some people like it. Some people like to go skiing or skating or playing. I don't do that. I'm not a winter guy. So that's not me. Fuck it. So just you have time. You still have that window of opportunity to look, to explore, to take action. Also, you could continually build on your Bitcoin nest. There's nothing stopping you from buying Bitcoin, either through an exchange or peer-to-peer, or also doing services on the side for Bitcoin Direct or cash and converting that into Bitcoin. Of course, disclaimer, you have to declare that to CRA. There's opportunities exist right now to do that. Don't miss that before the window closes. Once that window closes, you're going to be kicking yourself. It's like that fucking tree adage. The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Yeah. So don't fucking wait for tomorrow. Do it today. You have an opportunity to look into it. I have. And I'm just fucking urging everybody. And you even said it's tough to bring everybody with you. That's fine. You can't bring everybody with you. Bring the ones that you truly care about. And the ones that can't, they have to stay behind for whatever reason. all the more power to them. Like, it sucks, but this is it. Yeah, I am quitting.
Who's going to win the election?
I think it's going to be Poilievre. I think Poilievre might pull a majority here. I'm just basing it off so few pieces of information, and so my opinion could change in the next 4 weeks and change. There was an event that took place in North York yesterday.
Yeah,
Poilievre went. I think it was yesterday.
It was last night.
Had to turn. Was it?
Yeah.
They had to turn away people at the door because
the line looked nuts. It was around.
And at the same time, it was reported that CARNEY had to go to, or was in Newfoundland, and there was a protest preventing him from getting to the location. Like, just those things, those little things, make me believe, man, oh man, I think that there's going to be a conservative majority here. CARNEY might be able to still get 100 seats or so, which is a huge gain, but I don't know. I can't see a path for him to power without Quebec. And there's no way he's going to be able to get Quebec.
Certainly not now. The TVA, like, there's still going to be a French language debate, but the TVA one is like the Quebec station debate. And so he's not going to do that one. Have you seen the clip of Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney having a little tete-a-tete in 2020 over the pipelines and Brookfield's investment in overseas oil and gas while stopping Canadian investment in oil and gas? It's pretty good. It's a glimpse into what the debate could look like. Carney, smarmy, speaking down to people. Poilievre asking direct questions, not getting direct answers. I think it's going to be hard for Carney to win a debate, but I also don't think Poilievre is that competent. I don't think his campaign is that competent. I think if I look at yesterday's event, what should have been like a home run campaign launch event on Sunday night, had a few thousand people watching on YouTube. There's probably another 1,000, 1,500 people in the room with them there. I thought it was a disaster. I thought Roman Baber, doing the intros of some of the people in the room, little stuff like didn't know how to say their names. Poilievre's wife gets up on stage. She's not really much of a public speaker, and I think is not what you need right now in an election cycle. And then Pierre, again, when you leave him on his own, if he speaks for more than 20 or 30 seconds, he starts to trip. And he did it again last night, even though that's like a friendly crowd. There's no questions. It's just like a rally, basically, to announce you're, going to try and win an election in a month. And I just don't think either campaign is very competent. And if all those variables are in flux, then potentially there's a dice roll where Poilievre fucks up every single one of them, and then all Carney has to do is be neutral in a debate and control the one thing he can control, which I think is the speaking down and the tone. And if he's able to do that, I think it could be a liberal win. I'm not sure if I'd say it's a majority, like 338. 338 thinks liberals are winning 338 seats in April. I don't think that's the case, but I do think it's possible. It's a majority. There's people like you and me and people who listen to watch the show look at stuff like, what about the policies? We just did this whole rant on CPPIB and Wiseman and Butts and Eurasia last week and the week before that. But a lot of people just turn on the debates and go on vibes. And I don't think Pierre's got a good vibe, honestly. I really do think that there's something about that guy that's going to turn people off when he gets into a position where he's got to go one-on-one with what could be a cool, calm, and collected, and in a lot of ways, very qualified Mark Carney. That's the thing that I think people should be concerned about.
What's going to happen in 905? That's going to
905s are going 905s are going to vote liberal, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
then it's going to be a
905 is an NDP provincially, right? So,
no,
I can't
provincially. It's blue. A lot of blue.
Nope, there's no blue in Hamilton. It's Donna Skelly.
905 stretches
can't
as far
win.
east as Whitby, Oshawa. I'm not
That's
sure.
That's 905 Whitby.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then
I thought that was
King City.
I thought that was 416. Oh, I don't know. Hamilton's going to be. Hamilton will be red.
So
sure.
Dundas
will be red. Hamilton will be red.
Imagine
too. Like the other thing people should consider, and I'll let you talk about the electoral borders. What about the NDP? Who
lost?
Okay, so isn't the question then like can the Conservatives outvote Liberal and NDP? It's not going to be a Liberal NDP split. It's going to be like NDP gets close to nothing, and all those people are going to vote Liberal, right? So like that's a whole other piece of the equation when people say, "Well, NDP is going to like." No, I don't. I think that's going to be bad for conservative candidates in a lot of places. In Hamilton, for sure, it's going to be bad for them. I don't know about other spots in the area, but You're telling me 905 goes all the way to fucking Alberta now. I didn't know that. I thought
No,
it was
905.
around
Imagine
here.
a big semicircle around
Okay.
Toronto.
Okay.
And that is essentially 905. King City is pretty far north. That's 905.
It is. Yeah, King
I'm
City's
in
far.
905. I'm in Oakville, and Burlington is also Milton.
Wow.
So and I'm the west side. The east side I've mentioned, it's Oshawa, Whitby, Richmond Hill, Thornhill, Woodbridge. Like, it's a fucking huge area. So provincially, a lot of blue. So going back to federally, what's going to happen? I don't know. I suspect there's going to be like a smattering of red and blue. 416, it seems like it's going to be mostly red.
Yeah.
But there's going to be some inroads for blue. And it's not going to be the same way it was in 2011, where the Liberals got 30 seats. It's
going to be like, it's like, you know, how much do you hate Trudeau and the last 10 years? And how much do you hate, like, it's all, I think I'm worried about a vibes election. Vibes elections are not good. They're hard to predict, a lot of variables, and it's on a Monday night too. So that's good for us. But, you know, I'd like to know what the turnout is on a Monday after a weekend for an election. Be curious about that.
It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah.
The NDP are broke.
Yeah, totally.
They don't have enough
sell
money.
A couple of his Gucci bags maybe and fund
and there's going to be, I can't believe this is possible. There's going to be a possibility that the People Party of Canada might have a lot of seats. When I say a lot, I mean more than zero. Yeah. Which is what they have right now.
Well, what was the thing I sent you today? The CTV projection from February 28th had him at like 30 something seats.
I think it's going to come from Quebec.
Because Quebec, Bernier, yeah.
Because Quebec has to vote. They're going to vote for some bloc, right? But there's always a federalist party that usually picks up the rest. In the last few years has been the Liberal Party for the most part. Before that, it was the NDP. And so it was never really the Conservatives since Mulroney. So it's probably not going to be Poilievre again. The Liberal Party, an Anglophone Liberal leader never does well in Quebec. And this guy is switching, not going to do the French language debate. I can't see them making very huge gains there.
He's doing one French language debate, just not the TVA one. Yeah.
He's still not going to do very well.
Agreed.
Because again, like Anglophone Liberal leaders tend to do very poorly.
His French is bad. He sounds like I sounded when I was learning French.
Well,
yeah.
Paul Martin, his French was much better, but he couldn't do it because a little sponsorship scandal. But just historically, they don't. Anglophone leaders don't do well in Anglophone Liberal leaders don't do well in Quebec. NDP, no way. No. So what Federalist parties left? There's the vacuum there. It's going to be potentially, I'm not saying for sure, potentially PPC.
The potential party of Canada. Yeah.
Potential party. So that could be an absolute incredible turn of events where you have then the bloc getting their 20, 30 seats, and then the PPC maybe getting 30 seats, 20, whatever, maybe, and then the rest go to the Liberal Party over there. That's a lot from Quebec. And then depending how it goes in Ontario, that's going to be the deciding factor of who wins the election. Because if the Liberals do really well in Ontario, then they could probably carry that the rest of the country. If the Conservatives, like they do in 905, they do really well there. Because in 2011, they formed a government without Quebec. Mm-hmm. So it's been done. It could be done again. I don't know. I
wouldn't
think
bet
that's going to be a
way.
majority for the Conservative Party.
Yeah, I'm not
cheering for anybody. This is just what I see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The debates are going to be must watch, I think, for the first time in this country in a long time.
When is the last?
Who's getting excited about O'Toole Trudeau debates? Right, like nobody. Who's getting excited about Harper Trudeau? 90s. Nobody. Who was the candidate for the Conservatives in 2019? Scheer, that's right. God, I forgot the guy's fucking name. He's so milquetoast. Jeez, yeah. You know, it's gonna be interesting.
He should have got a second kick at the can, I thought.
Yeah, you know what? His time has passed because his personality just doesn't lend itself to what is needed now. It's a sort of a soundbite economy at the moment, and it worked for Poilievre for a long time. But like I said, I think that's probably run its course. Funny. We talked about Jim Balsillie running as a Conservative a few weeks ago on the show. Maybe it was last week. If Poilievre loses, you saw he surfaced out of nowhere on the Jordan Peterson podcast. What are the odds of that? You think Jim Balsillie is thinking about getting into politics?
Or what about what's a Mr. Wonderful? What's his name?
O'Leary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin O'Leary. Yeah.
Why?
So why not him? Like he tried running in the past. Why not try running again?
Yeah,
He's been
maybe
very active in talking about Canadian politics. So
yeah.
it's not like he's been shying away from it. What about Gretzky?
I would love to see Gretzky run. Yeah. But
they're throwing fucking feces at his statue.
He's got better stuff to do. Like I said on this show a couple weeks ago, like if you think that a trade war is cleverly, putting clever quips under Gretzky wine at the liquor store and buying Canadian ketchup, you got a fucking wake up call coming. Although I did see today the tariffs are going to be more narrow than originally announced. So who knows what that's going to look like come April 2nd.
That's going to impact too.
100%. Danielle Smith is in the news because people are claiming she's told Trump just wait till after the Canadian election to run the tariff. Yeah. And you get a more friendly prime minister.
So yeah, Trump's actions is definitely going to impact what happens moving forward to what a fucking interesting time we have right now. And they wanted the election. It's not like it had to, they decided this is the right time to do it.
Yeah.
So if they fail, if it's going to look so fucking bad because they were in power. If the majority goes to the Conservative Party, I can't see Carney sticking around. If it's a minority government, any way, shape, or form, Carney is probably going to stick around.
Yeah, I think so.
Right, like
he's got the personality to be there till he dies. He's like the Pope, Like he no. I don't think that guy's. I don't think he's interested in doing anything else. I do think that it's funny, and this will come up in the debates. Like if I had to pick a couple of things that I would really poke at Carney for, one would be the Brookfield move. I think they gotta ask him about those Ghislaine Maxwell pictures. I can't imagine they just let that go. And then maybe the other
untouchable territory though.
I don't know, but I mean, she's in jail, convicted, so it's not like it's debatable. And the question you have for the guy is like, what the fuck were you doing at a party with this person? Do you not like look into the people who you're affiliated with or associated with? It's not like you were just there having a good time. He's on Molly in a fucking park. You can tell. I've seen that look a million fucking times.
They're
tripping.
You were at a what is it? Almost sharing drinks with guys like Chris Sky and stuff. You know you weren't, but like if somebody took a picture, right, and said, "Look here, everybody's smiling," and you know what I mean. I'm not trying to give him a pass.
Posing for a picture is one thing, but they're not. That the pictures are not. He's not posing.
Yeah,
like they're candid. He's having a good time. He's on his fucking knees, crawling toward his wife and Ghislaine Maxwell, who are already situated there. Like that's not a staged photo. They're shooting shit.
I don't know.
Nightmare blunt rotation. Carney, his weirdo wife, Ghislaine Maxwell, and whoever else is at that festival they were at. It is a festival on a private property. You telling me these guys are not on drugs? Like, okay, fine. I guess I got a bridge to sell you, but. Whatever.
Let's talk about the asylum claims over here. Fuck that.
Sure.
Let's end this show.
Yeah.
No, let's end this show.
Yeah. I mean, I could talk about this shit all day, but
did you see like the asylum claims?
Of course I did. I got in this argument with Benjamin Rabideau on this program 3 months ago. And I told him, he's like, no, the number's going to go down. We're going to lose people, blah, blah, blah. I told him, this is what's going to happen. They're going to start filing asylum claims. We don't have the capacity to deal with it. We refuse to say no to these fucking brain dead international laws that you have to take all these asylum claimants and review them all. They got to be allowed to stay until you review them. We refuse to back down, or we refuse to stand up for ourselves. And so naturally, all these kids on 2-year hospitality degrees who don't want to go back to India are going to file asylum claims. There's no end to the shamelessness of the people who came here.
You're both right, though. I'll explain, because people have left, and it's measurable for the people that have left.
Okay.
But it's an influx of inland asylum claims. So you're both right. People did leave.
So let me ask you this then. Given what I told you about Wiseman, Carney, Eurasia, Century Initiative, do you think Carney is going to say, yeah, we got to send these guys back, asylum claimants can't stay? Or do you think he's going to say, we got to be gentle, let them stay, keep them here? How many widgets? Amazon's going to start delivering me shit in an hour instead of overnight if we keep on taking people.
What they have to do is they have to increase the amount of people that are processing those applications in order to move them along faster. And I don't think
why don't we put up a couple of LMIAs for those positions? Can we do that? WestJet's hiring temporary foreign workers to pilot aircraft. So why can't we bring in a couple of people from fucking, whatever country? To process asylum claims? It's insane. It is absolutely insane.
Joey, the information is there. We talk about, and I'm telling you, Operation GTFO fucking start it. I'm fucking not trying to be funny here. I'm trying to be deadly serious. What is holding you here?
Yeah.
In 5-10, like nothing, nothing. Maybe family, but like, God, it comes a point in time where you got to say, you got to look for number one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Like, if there's no future, there is no fucking future.
Yeah.
And there's like, I can't see it. Just, you know, and everybody's got to do the same fucking thing. You think this is going to stop? You think?
No, it's not. The end game is already, the end is determined. Yeah.
Fucking intersections are being blocked for services.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can't fucking expect this to stop. The frequency of this shit happening is going to increase. And now instead of going into intersections, it's going to happen on the fucking 401 or Gardner. Which it fucking has happened. People have
already started. Yeah, it already started. Yeah.
Like,
wait till the summer. The weather's not really protest friendly right now, and it's still happening. Wait till the summertime to see what this really turns into. Yeah.
So what do you do? What, like, going back? I'm gonna vote fucking for this guy 10 times. Fuck that. No, fuck that shit. You know what I mean? Like, fuck. The world is so fucking large. There's so much to do. And you know what? Like, most of my capital is locked up in my house, but you know, I can respect that. But man, the Bitcoin I have, it's fucking liquid. Like, I could almost just say, fuck the house. Everything else I could just take with me and
deal with the house remote. Yeah.
I just walk away and just like, if things get that bad and Bitcoin rips, like, who just, like, there's so many beautiful places to live in. There's so much history people could look at. Culture, food, good weather, and you will only have one chance at this life,
for sure.
Right? Once you lose it, that's it. So make the most of it, right? Don't fucking die in the hill that this is the place you're gonna have to live.
Yeah, don't die waiting for it to get better or pretending that you're living in a world that you want to live in instead of the one you're actually living in. Those are huge mistakes that a lot of people are making right now.
Be transient. Like, if the next place sucks, go to the next end and the next end and next. Eventually, you'll find something, or eventually the world just keeps getting worse. You're just always one step ahead of where the shittiness is. And that's a good place to be rather than just sticking it out in the fucking frigid cold for 6 months of the year. You can't play tennis and golf outside. Fuck that shit.
Agreed. Let's
send it.
Let's get out of here. Yeah. Come back Thursday. I'll be here with Praveen. Maybe Len will be here. Hopefully he's here. If he's still in the country, I don't know. He could be packing his bags right now off camera. I'm not 100% sure. So we'll have to find out. Might have thrown the show at a different time because of time zone issues pretty soon.
Did you know? Wait. Did you know there's potential? Oh no, I can't even say it. Fuck it. We'll just end it there. I don't want to.
Okay. Yeah. God bless everyone. We'll catch you next time.
All right. Take care and don't be a cock.